Good afternoon. It's drive time. I'll be your driver. I'm Dave. This is Drive Time with Dave. Oh my gosh. You would think that I would be much better at putting my seatbelt on when I start my adventure, but apparently I'm not. So today was very uneventful. I didn't get a whole lot of questions. Okay, let's be honest. I didn't get any. I have nothing to talk about whatsoever. I could tell you about my incredibly boring day. It's Friday, and it was payroll. So, you know, I should fix the camera. Hang on, that's my, oh, sorry, that was such a good view of my hand. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's incredibly boring. It's payroll. You know, I had to sign all those checks that I get accused of doing nothing but signing. And it is true. I signed a whole bunch of checks. And then I sat there for a while and I'm like, well, you know what? It's 3 o'clock. I've worked my 5 hours. You know, nobody wants to hear this. I did get a message where somebody was like, you know, I think you rub it in or something. And I you know what? When a message starts with something about me rubbing something in, I'm like, I didn't mean to. I thought that, you know, that part of the insight that I provide, well, okay, so I'm providing insight and business advice and information, but I'm supposed to pretend like I don't have anything and I don't make anything, right? And speaking of which, the live show that I did last night, there was some unhappy viewers that they don't like the fact that I talk about money and millions and business and to the scope, and I'm like, but that's, you know, I'll say I'm sorry that, you know, when you first start out, you know, 20 years ago I started out with nothing. I've been there. It's not like I started off. I didn't have rich parents. I didn't have somebody spoon feeding me. I didn't have anything. Nothing. I had less than nothing. You know, so in a way I'm like, well, you know, I'm sorry that you think that, or you're, you know, that you're upset or you're insulted by, you know, the things that I'm saying, but I mean, don't you aspire to be greater? To have all the things that you can't have now? You have to work to get those things. And there's only really one way to get those things without working. That's winning the lottery. Then we can talk about winning the lottery. I mean, who doesn't like, I like it. The thought of winning the lottery is, oh my gosh, would that change my life? You're not kidding. I could get a bigger boat. No, I know. Yeah, but it would be a change. I mean, it would be. I could buy a few more cars. I like cars very much, you know, and I would love to have a whole bunch of cars and a, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 car garage. I mean, who wouldn't if you could afford it? But I'd have to win the lottery to have that. Because the reality too, I work and I earn money. I'm not crazy. I'm not just going to frivolously go bonkers and just go, well, I'm going to buy some cars and waste it all. Well, that's silly. But if you have enough, well, then what? Right? So I have a friend, and this friend of mine, he sold his company, right? He went from buying, he bought the company, right? So he bought this company for a bunch of money. He bought it for, let's just say it was, I don't know, $2 million. It was like $2.5 million, right? Okay. So he bought the company, and in 6 years, he sold the company. He got, personally, $18 million. what? I don't even understand that, right? And I'm like, so he calls me, he goes, I sold my company. So the first question that I have to ask is, so what are you going to do now? And he goes, well, you know, I'm under contract for, you know, quite a while, so it'll be a good 2 or 3 years before I, you know, move on to the next thing. Well, do you have any idea what the next thing is? He goes, well, you know, I got 3 years to look around. I'm going to figure out what the next thing is. But you know, the answer that he didn't give was, well, you know, I'm just going to go sit at the house because I've got all this money. Because believe it or not, $18 million is not a lot of money. I know it's a lot of money when you don't have any money. When you're like, man, I make like $50,000 a year, $18 million is $18 million. But when you start reselling, you start buying, selling. So $18 million is, it's you know, again, it's a lot of money, but it's not, because when you I had to stop the video and start it over, by the way, so if I repeat myself, I apologize. Right, okay. So when you're starting off at $50,000, you start buying and selling, right? And you quit your job and you start doing it full time. And then as you do it full time, more opportunities present themselves. Well, in my case, as each time an opportunity presented itself, you know, my question was, well, do you need cash or a credit card for payment? There was a point that I had millions of dollars in debt on credit cards. Yep, that's a lot, right? Well, there was no way for me to maximize my cash flow. I can buy more stuff than I can sell, because then I didn't have the outlets that I've got now. Now, oh man, come on, man, I could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in a week, bring all this material in, get it all processed, broken down, inventoried, shipped out to fulfillment centers, whether it's FBA, additional third-party fulfillment centers, boom. And then in, you know, months to come, it'll all just sell off at whatever, dollar for dollar. So I spend $100 grand this week. It takes a return, you know, what, 90 days? 9 days to make 100 grand, so we're making, you know, whatever, 33,000 point, whatever per month. So we're making 33% on our money, so every dollar I spend, I make 33% on the money. Right. Okay. So when you're working at home, you can make, you know, 230%, 530%. You can buy something for, you know, 88 cents and sell it for, you know, $18. Hell, I don't even know what that math is. That's crazy. But that's one item. Now, can you do that with, you know, 1,000 items? Well, you just made $18,000, right? So you're making $18,000 a month. That's, you know, 200. I don't know. It's ridiculous. $240,000, whatever it is. Yeah, right. Whatever. Right. You know, I can barely do math when I'm driving. I'm lucky that I'm coherent. So you start making, when you go from $50,000 and suddenly you're making $80,000. Well, you're like, oh my God, I got $80,000 and I can put some money in the bank, and you like start squirreling it away. But then you get a little bit extra money in the bank, and you've been squirreling it away, and suddenly you're like maximizing your cash flow because you've maximized your use of credit. You're managing your credit. You're maximizing your cash flow. You're managing cash flow, and you're buying everything you can buy. And you go get an employee, and then pretty soon you got 1 or 2 employees, whatever. And then in the next 12 months, you go from making 80 to 100. At some point, you know, and I've had this conversation turns into an argument 1,000 times. Well, you know, when I start making $100,000, I'm going to be saving $50,000 a year. Yep. And then you're going to buy a new car. And well, then you're going to buy a new house. And then you're going to buy another new car. And then you're going to, you know, then you're making $200,000. The next year you go from 100 to 200. It's a huge jump. And then at $200,000 a year, well, you might buy another house. And then you're renting out the house before that. Then you might buy a beach house. I don't know. Then you might buy a boat, 2 boats, some jet skis, motorcycles. Because when you get to a certain point, you go, okay, well, I make $200,000. Well, how much are we going to save? I'm going to save all of it. I'm not spending nothing. We're going to keep, living in our little house. We paid cash for it. We own our house now. We've got lots of security. You're making $200,000 a year, right? So on one hand, somebody's arguing, well, Dave, we didn't have anything. We didn't have it like you. I'm like, whoa, what? Have it like me? You need me to tell you about the dirt road and the single wide trailer? Is that the story I need to tell? Because listen, I've been there, man. I've been there, and there is no going back. If you start making $200,000 a year, reselling, buying and selling, and you go broke, man, listen, I don't even know. Nobody can help you at that point. You're making some really, really bad decisions. Like, on a scale that I don't like, what, are you hooked on drugs? Like, you're on crack? Because that's what you're talking about. So a normal person, you start making good money, and the education begins, and you start rolling, and life gets better, and you make more money, and you spend more money. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're making money, you can act like you're not making any money, and you can save every dime of it, and you can do that for a few years, or maybe 5 years, or 10 years, and you just don't spend anything. In 10 years, you've saved $100,000 a year, and you've got $1 million in savings, and you've never grown or scaled your business. Okay, so business didn't grow. 10 years later, it's you and your wife and your kids, or you by yourself, whatever your circumstances are. Maybe you hired a couple of employees. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. But as that business grew, and I started right there, it grew, and I hired employees. I freed myself a little bit. Year over year, I got a little free. That chain that was wrapped around my ankle to that chair, that was chained to that desk, it got a little looser. Until one day, everybody's doing. I got people that can do purchasing. I got salespeople that are handling customer service. I got more customer service people. I got customer service people for customer service people. I mean, and so you go in and you're like, so what am I gonna do today? You can't tell me that because of the life you live today, you don't have a good grasp on. There could come a day that with everything in place, it's your business. Now you can go there every day and you can do, there's a point where what am I going to do? I could look at what? Bringing on more material? You're right. Endless supply of material. I could diversify into additional products, right? Maybe I'm not smart enough for that. Or maybe I do that. Maybe in my 5 hours, that's what I'm actually doing. I work on solving problems, working out processes, continuously working on growth. Scaling of the business model never stops. There is a point when you get to be the biggest in your sector, your industry, your business, and you're the biggest. Maybe. And then what? I don't know. I'm not the biggest in my space, so I can't answer that question. Back to my original rant about when you start making money, as much as you want to believe, and today, because you don't have much money, you're going to save every dime, and you're never going to spend any money. But there's a point where you're just going to simply go, oh my gosh, I got all this money. I'd like a new car. I got all this money. We pay our house off. I got all this money. Hell, we can buy another house. See, I've heard stories. I've never met any person that went rags to riches and they're still living in the same house with the same stuff after half of a lifetime. They've never spent any money and they've just hoarded all their money away and they've got all this money. I've never met that person. I can tell you about this guy that I met, Bill. Super nice guy. Went camping, and Bill, at his campsite, Bill had an extremely rare automobile. And the problem is, if I tell you guys what the extremely rare automobile is, somebody's going to figure out who Bill is. There's only 14 of this automobile in the whole world. So I'm not going to tell you what that automobile is, because I don't want everybody going out trying to figure out who Bill is. I probably shouldn't use Bill's real name, but hell, if I told you what the automobile was, somebody could figure it out. Not that it's going to matter, because I don't imagine, you know, anybody actually wants to talk to Bill, except me. I really want to talk to Bill. So I go to the camp. I'm driving around on my golf cart, and all of a sudden I see this car, and I'm like, we're at a campground. That car is $2 million. And that's just what I know about that car because, well, I've never actually seen one. I've only read about this car. Yes, I already said I like cars, and I read about cars that I can't possibly afford, and I say the same things. Oh my God. If I had millions and millions and millions and millions and millions, lots of millions, I wouldn't spend $2 million on a car. Well, I said I was never going to spend $200,000 on a Porsche Turbo S. And I did. But then, when my wife decided that she wanted an RV, I decided we can't have two ginormous toys. Doesn't make any sense to me. Like, as much as I enjoyed the Turbo S, I was like, well, you know, $200,000 for an RV. So, anyway, so that's what happened. So, here's this $2 million plus automobile, and I stopped, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm taking pictures. I was a fanboy. I got to be honest. I'm just like, holy moly, what? And, you know, he comes out of his RV and comes over, and, you know, and I didn't get too close to the car, and he's like, hey, I'm Bill. I'm like, hey, I'm Dave, and, you know, we introduced, shake hands, and I was like, wow, I don't even know what to say. You know, he goes, I got to be honest, I don't know what to say either. I'm like, what, you like my golf cart? And he goes, no, he's like, you're probably the first person that's come up here to look at this car that didn't have to touch it. I'm like, touch it? I'm not touching that car. I don't even want my fingerprints on it. I don't want to get near it. He goes, man, that's respect. Well, thank you. I respect things that I can't possibly understand, afford. I will not touch them. I'm not going to. It doesn't make any sense to me. And in the course of the conversation, other people come up, and I thought he was just full of crap, and he's just messing with me. And as we're standing there, you know, other people come up, and people have to go, they touch the car. Why are you touching this car? Because they don't understand. They don't know how much it costs. And to them, it's somebody else's very expensive thing that they don't care. You know, people want to sit on it and take a picture. That's a very expensive. Don't sit on that car. Don't touch it. Get back. I'm even standing there going, hey guys, you're a little too close. Could you back up from the car? And Bill's like, hey, thanks, man. Yeah, all right. So, hey, Bill, so here's the question. I know everybody's been dying, like, come on, Dave, get to the point. When did you ask him what he does? This is the point. Hey, Bill, listen, man, I gotta know. What do you do, or did you do, I don't, you know, whatever, to afford this life? And he goes, well, I'm going to fast forward up to the point where I own 50,000 acres of property in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 50,000. Yep. 50,000 acres. I think that's bigger than like all of Disney's properties. He goes, you know, it's pretty close. I'm like, wow. Okay. So at that point, I'm like, okay, so you own 50,000 acres. Well, how do you turn that into money? Like, I don't know how to sell some property. Well, you know, 100 acres now in Fort Lauderdale goes for $10 million. 100 acres. He goes, yep, $10 million. He goes, yeah. He goes, Dave, I like you. I'm like, well, thanks, Bill. You know, we just met. I like to think I'm likable, and everybody likes me because I'm just likable. Got it. Okay. So then Bill says, you know, here's the reality of my life. I don't have no kids. That's my wife over there. Like, hi, wife over there. Hi. They were putting out Christmas decorations. They were decorating their campsite. And so I said, you know, Bill, a few months ago I was camping here, and I come through and I noticed a car of the same color. Now, I will discuss this other car because it was intriguing that he has two automobiles that are painted the same color. And I didn't understand how that was possible. The first car that I saw there with Bill was a Ford GT. It's like $500,000. But it was because the car was blue and orange. And then when I come around 6 months later, camping again, now I noticed this $2 million automobile that was also the same identical paint scheme. So I said, man, I didn't, you know, I know there's very few of these cars. Well, you know, that's when you own one of these cars, you can have it painted any color you want. How much does it cost to have a $2 million car painted? A lot of money. Like, I was floored when he was like, oh, it's like, you know, it was like $150,000. Did you $150,000 just to paint your car? That's crazy. Are you okay? And he's like, so I've sold off about 1,000 of my acres. That's 10 million times 100. Okay. That's a lot of money. He goes, yeah. And he goes, you know, and I've still got 49,000 acres to go. I've got race planes, race boats. I've got 20 exotic cars. I'm like, man, you spend a lot of money on this stuff. And he goes, well, you know, I used to ask myself, how much was enough money? He goes, you finally get to a point where you have enough. And then he said, what am I going to do? I'm just going to sit there and look at it? I see a car, I like it. $2 million, $3 million, I buy it. I said, well, Bill, this has been very enlightening. And I'm never going to be there, ever. Because I don't have 50,000 acres to sell to make, I don't know, $5 billion. That's crazy. You're worth like $5 billion. He goes, wow, I never really thought of it like that. But yeah. So that's the story of when too much money is actually enough. I'm never going to be there. I don't know many people that will. But there is a point where when you start making a couple $100,000, your life is going to change dramatically. And then you get to start having lots of nicer things. And then if you go about things correctly, you'll scale your little reselling operation into a nice business that has longevity. Because that's what this is about. You don't think you just, you start reselling to solve a problem, and then you start making a little bit of money. Your problems really aren't solved. Your problems are just beginning. Because at that point, I don't want to go backwards. I want to keep making $200,000 a year. I want to do it forever. And then you get to where you're making $200,000 consistently, and then you start thinking, well, how am I gonna make $300? How am I gonna make $400? $500, $600? We can keep going. So those are some of the insights, the progressionary growth of the individual as they begin to earn and make more money through their own hard work. This video didn't answer any questions. It was more of me just talking. And I hope I've said something that makes someone's day better. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'm Dave, and this was Drive Time. Thanks.